Hi, everyone. And hi, Kat back there.
Oh my goodness.
I am so excited to have Casey, AKA Hero, here with us today. We are now on episode number 16, which is crazy. Um, and we are excited to hear from you. Tell us about your background and your connection to the arts.
So sorry about the cat. Like as soon as we started recording, the cat jumps up, just knows.
It's like he knows, yeah.
Yeah, seriously. Um, I would say like a quick insight into my connection to the arts is I've been in different forms of art since college. I went to school for film. And once I had graduated into like one of the hardest job markets, it was around like the crash of the housing market. I didn't pursue that. And I instead took a different direction into physical art. And I had been interested in and participated in graffiti art back in high school. So got back into just different forms. I explored what stencil art, what poster art, who was creating at the time, whether it was Shepard Fairey or Banksy or Swoon. And I got really interested in those styles of artworks, which is cool because they're ever evolving and the streets are completely collaborative and they're democratic. And it gave a lot of space to learn different styles and just find my own unique style and continue to progress that style, not get stuck in like a certain area. Um, and it has evolved over the last 10 years from just little stencils and like little posters to large murals and digital art and animations. And I like that because I think they can all exist together.
Yeah, for sure. We met at the USBT Towers murals. I love the artwork you created for that. It's like, how many pillars did you do? Like 10 of them or like the columns?
Yeah, I ended up doing 10 columns, four with like actual imagery on it. And then the other ones are gradients trying to match the other um, colors from the other mural work. If that sound, that's the cat again. If that sound is like getting in the way, just
No, no, it's totally fine.
um, yeah. The whole point was to introduce like science, technology, space, and we have NASA, we have JPL into that space because that is something that connects Los Angeles, and like I think that's something we can connect, like that LA can be proud of. And then the colors of LA, so oceans, sky, like sunsets, sunrises, into like the color patterns, and just try to like incorporate the other artists that were in and around, so it all was like unified as far as like a feeling.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I love your astronaut work. And I feel like doing the space and then the spray paint and then kind of like the gradients and the ombre colors are like so beautiful that I feel like it's not just like a beautiful thing, but like a deeper meaning of how you're like talking about like technology and space and all of that. So I love your work.
Thank you.
Um, you as an artist, you say you go by Hero. How did
Mhm.
Hero happen? And just tell us about your journey as an artist. I say hungry artist because I feel like an artist, if they're not hungry and determined, you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
So like you've had now a long career. Like tell us about your journey.
Yeah. So the pen name, or I would say like my artist name or like the moniker, will start off as a joke. And because I didn't necessarily intend to end up just pursuing an artist career, it just seemed like fun and I could do it in like my in between time. And because I had done graffiti back in high school, I wasn't going to reintroduce my same name. And I was familiar with monikers because of the graffiti scene that I was into in high school. So coming back, I thought it could be like satirical if I was doing like things that people would deem illegal as, and then tagging it or just signing it as a hero, just because like it would cause people to have like some type of either visceral reaction or a laugh, and that was the goal.
Yeah.
um and it was around the time that Instagram was just a baby, so it just happened to go hand in hand, and it was perfect at the time because I was like, oh, I'll just name this profile hero and it'll all be the thing. And then it literally became like an alter ego on its own.
Mhm.
And so that's cool.
Yeah.
It's not what necessarily I intended, but it was hugely beneficial in just how I could keep like the emotions or the energy of like the artwork almost to like an alter ego that wasn't even connected to me, and it didn't have to be about me, and I liked that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think sometimes like making the art less about myself allows whoever is viewing it to be able to attach themselves. Because if
Yeah.
they don't see themselves as they see me, then there's could be a disconnect, right?
Yeah.
So
I love that.
it was super helpful that it just happened to all line up, and it started off with just me doing like little illegal pieces of artwork, and one gallery just took a bet on me, and then I just would start looking for more opportunities,
Yeah.
all the way up until like when we met with like the US Bank Tower. You know, when someone just sent me like my oh, actually Amy sent me
Mm-hmm.
that opportunity, and I was like, oh wow, this is massive. And I realized at that moment that just every step up until this point has always just like allowed me to take a little step further, stretch myself a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think that would be what keeps me like in that like hungry like
Mm-hmm.
artist, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to say it better than I think Steve Jobs said it when he was talking to Stanford. He ended with "Stay hungry and stay foolish."
Ah, I
And
love that.
I think if you don't like that foolish part, like if you
Mm-hmm.
don't take like those opportunities, like if you're your first no, um, you're already limiting yourself.
Yeah.
And so don't be the first don't be the first person to tell you no. Allow somebody else to like, send you the email that says we chose other artists or whatever. But if you don't take like steps that may seem a little bit beyond like your previous skill set or your current skill set, like then you don't get to stretch.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. And I think the more that I do projects like the US Paint Tower, just any projects, I realize that a majority of people have that inside of them,
Mm-hmm.
that hungry artist inside of them, like that stay hungry, stay foolish. And
Mm-hmm.
at some point in time, they were convinced that being a fool was a bad thing. And so
Mm-hmm.
they stopped. And
Right.
so I'm sure you've had moments where, they'll come, like people will come up to you and they'll be like, I always wanted to do X
Yeah.
in relation to you pursuing your
Right.
journey as an artist. Right. And
Yeah.
it's like, I feel like everybody has that. Just like some people just continue to to make that journey, whatever that looks like. And it may not be for like, the fame of like a Picasso, but,
Mm-hmm.
and I think people grade themselves too heavy. It's like, oh, if I'm not a Jackson Pollock, if I'm not a Picasso, if I'm not going to hang up in like the Broad like an Andy Warhol, like why should I pursue it? It's like you pursue it because
Mm-hmm.
it's burning inside you anyways.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I know today that if I were to stop,
Yeah.
like that desire wouldn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
It would always
Mm-hmm.
be there. Like the
Yeah.
idea that I never completed would always be there.
Yeah.
And
And
so it's
that's
like,
why we are artists
yeah,
like today, and continuing our journeys. And, whether it's word of mouth that gets us our next project or whatever it is that kind of foolish or that kind of curiosity that keeps us just continuing to go with these crazy ideas that might seem like it's not going to make sense, but then you execute and then you make it happen. And then people see, oh, that was pretty cool. So I love everything you just said right now. So thank you for that. I wanted to ask about the piece that you created for our collaboration for the Exquisite Collabs. Why did you do legs like that? Like, tell us more about the process of how you made it, the medium, and
yeah,
the why.
yeah. I I think I started off by just looking at like other like examples of like what had been done, and I just like the idea of I really attached to like the skateboarding. That's a part of my past. Like
Mhm.
that was around like the same time frame that I was like getting into graffiti. I was skateboarding, and so I really like highlighted on that. And so I was like, how do I incorporate something that I've done and like this idea of skateboarding? And I liked the idea of like this moonwalk atmosphere, like this space in the background, like connecting just a lot of like imagery, or not just imagery, but just like a lot of like almost like pop art or pop concepts, like the moonwalk. the skateboard that I used was like the hoverboard from Back to the Future. So it's like very like 80s, like 80s themed, but that's also like when I was like a little kid, and
Mhm.
just tying like those little things in that someone might also recognize and just
Yeah.
be like, oh, like that's a moonwalk. Oh, I get it. It's moonwalk, Michael Jackson, like Back to the Future, like, and just like make all those connections. And then it still connects to the like really like the STEM themes that have been in my artwork in the last couple of years, of just like
Mhm.
space technology. And one of the in the application I used was Procreate to create it,
Mhm.
which is more recent. I guess in the last like 3 or 4 years, that's been like a medium that's like more, or I would say is newer to me.
Mhm.
But it's something that I have grown in deep appreciation to, because when I used to make like mock-ups, or yeah, examples of like murals that I was going to create for businesses, to go back and make minor changes meant that I was hand painting it all again.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
whereas in Procreate, it's like, oh yeah, this mock-up is 15 layers and they just want a different color. And it has really like streamlined the entire process of helping other people see your vision or your
Yeah.
ideas. And
Mhm.
when they can't quite grasp it, to just go back and make a few minor changes, like which could be 5 to 10 minutes versus 5 hours of just repainting something. So I've have a deep appreciation for that medium,
Yes.
and it continues to grow. I mean, now they have 3D elements that are built in, that have like an AR kit that is built in, so they're already pushing for like that next
Mhm.
the next dimension of being able to enjoy or experience artwork. And I appreciate that about the application too,
Yeah.
that I didn't
Yeah.
have to continue to pay for the upgrades.
Right, right. Well, and it still has your artistic like voice and style, the way you
Yeah.
created like the legs and all. I didn't know if you spray painted it by hand or if it was like digital or Procreate. But I love that you have that like aesthetic that when you see it, you know, oh, that's Heroes, you know. So it's great you kept that with the legs for the collaboration. Um, and I'm curious about your journey with like Web3 and NFTs. What do you think about it all as an artist?
I think that the NFT space is like fits the arts really well. I think two categories come to mind. Um, Having done so much in like arts with film, and growing up with like just learning a lot about like different artists, whether they were physical artists or film or sound composition, um, there's always been a lot of controversy of like who actually created the art. Whether it is art found by Leonardo da Vinci, or if Frida was doing art for other artists. It's like that allows there to be a legit signature on the artwork. It
Hmm.
can't be forged, that can't be reproduced. And so I feel like for that, it does fit into the art world, just for like a lot of controversy that's happened in
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
past. But where I've been using technology in the last, because I teach technology, and one of the things that I dove into a few years ago was learning how to use a language called Swift. It's a programming language that is used for most iPhones, iPad applications. But it allows you to create augmented reality. So you can create like pieces, and you can create triggers. So if the camera gets close enough, then something happens. And when I started playing around with that, I just saw so many applications for art to be experienced in a different way.
Hmm.
And I think that was important, because I think it should be experienced. And I think that what is fun about street art is that it can be unexpected on your journey to wherever you're going to or from something, and it's on a big wall, or you catch it in like an alley. And that's where like I still have a deep connection to street art.
Hmm.
And so what I thought instantly is like, if I don't have access to the museums, if I can't pay for a Meow Wolf, or I can't travel to Meow Wolf, but I have a smartphone,
Hmm.
and my smartphone will trigger a different experience on this mural that's just on the side of the road, or even like this random piece of street art that someone just put on the side of the road, then I can have another experience. I can have a secondary experience than just finding this. And that's exciting to me because it can change, it can live on, it can, if I'm controlling it from my computer at home, all I have to do is update it and then the experience changes tomorrow. It's like there's so much there. And if I think for artists who really geek out or get excited about like that experience that they feel when they go see artwork, I just saw Nick Cave's artwork at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago.
Hmm.
And he's an artist that I've been a fan of for years. And to see, like, I had that same experience seeing his art and like how large it is in person. And he had done an augmented reality experience, I think a few years back, that would be triggered when you entered any Apple store.
Hmm.
Um, so those are like the little things that I geek out on. So to be able to offer that to like anyone, just if it's just one person out there
Yeah.
who like, is like walking down, it's like, I know that this mural, if I hold up my phone and just, Wayne Gretzky said, you skate to where the puck's going to be, like knowing that it will at some point in time not be a phone and it'll be lenses and it'll be more seamless. And I think that's where people are missing it right now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like, it's like Bored Ape Yacht Club or like, CryptoPunks. It's like, yeah, there is like that area, and
Hmm.
there's that area of like comic books, baseball cards. It's like there's a vast gamut of like what NFTs can be used for. But I
Yeah.
think for me and for like other artists that want to create like dimensional experiences, it's like you have the ability to just know that where technology is going to be
Hmm.
will allow so much more of a seamless like integration of whatever you create digitally, right? So
Yeah.
if it's going to be triggered and if it's going to be even if it's a two-dimensional
Hmm.
versus three-dimensional, if you know that like they'll just be wearing it and all they have to do is like look at an image like this and then all of a sudden it starts changing,
Hmm.
um, that's going to, I mean, that would make them want to go back to the mural spot or hang this up in their space so that anytime someone came over and they're like, oh, I love this painting, it's like, oh, just wait.
Hmm.
You haven't
Hmm.
seen it yet.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's exciting.
Yeah, that is really exciting. I feel like everything you just said is very forward thinking of where Web3 and NFTs could go. And I'd love to see it go in that direction. I think we probably needed the Bored Apes and the Crypto Punks to get more of the adoption for more artists to get onboarded and people to get excited about crypto and Web3 and NFTs. But I think now that we're kind of there, and I know we're like in a bear market, but I think what is exciting is if artists like you and just more artists in general create those experiences and create those kind of like cool projects that's going to take NFTs to the next level, that's going to want our previous traditional art collectors to buy their first NFT because they're like, that is really brilliant how they're making it an experience, you know? So I hope to see it to go in that direction more.
Yeah.
Yeah, for you, what are you currently working on? And yeah, where can everyone find you?
Currently working on, I have a few murals. I've been like, I feel like this year, and this is awesome. Ever since like we did like the US Bank Tower, it's just been like one after another.
Nice.
So it's like, I'm not complaining about that at all. And um, it just allows me to, it'll allow me to always go back and then add integration if I want to, because these murals are going to be permanent
Yes.
fixtures. And so it's like, cool, do that now, hold the space. And then if I ever want to have a secondary experience, I can always work that into the image.
Mhm.
So two more murals that I'm in like the bare process of. I just finished a small one in Sherman Oaks, Studio City.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm trying to think of what else. Like, there's always like, I think you probably experience this. There's always like five things that are like potentially happening,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they're at different stages of like materializing. And it's like,
Yep.
oh yeah, there's this project, but it's like in just the very basic talks. And so it's like, but like definitely the two murals are going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, and the two places that I use the most are I use Instagram all the time. I feel like it's a great way to just have a portfolio that most people couldn't access. And my handle is _hero_. and then I have made a promise to myself and everybody else to update my website. So it's my website's
Nice.
theforgedhero.com,
Yeah.
which was an extension on the joke of just hero. I like the idea of forged is, to be like steel workers, they forge steel. So it takes a
Mm-hmm.
lot of pressure. It takes a lot of work to forge steel, but you can also forge a signature.
Yeah.
So it can either be forged as far as like worked really hard for or faked.
Yeah, yeah. It's brilliant. Love it. Yeah, and then I'm excited because you're going to be part of the exhibition
Yes.
for August 3rd, which is going to be a curation of some of the collaborators that collaborated on Hungry Artists. You created some really dope pieces. Is that in real life pieces? I know you gave me the digital files, but can people buy the actual version?
Yes, I'm trying to actually like do so. One of the things that like in my downtime is really trying to see how close I can get my digital versions to my painted versions. Because I
Mm,
think for me, like looking forward, I want to be able to come up with like um, either photo triggers or RFID triggers or QR triggers.
hmm
And I don't want it to look so digital that it hinders the experience. I want it to
hmm
be like, okay, obviously this is digital, but it's really similar to what's painted. So
hmm
I think I did one file that's completely digital and two that are actually painted.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So I
Yeah.
passed along like a few,
hmm
and trying to get like that blend as close as possible.
Yeah.
Um, and I do have a few of like the physical paintings that are available, and the digital files. I'm still finding like when I want to make some of those available again as NFTs. So I did
hmm
like a first launch of NFTs for myself as animated files about a year, coming up on like a year and 9 months ago.
hmm
And then since then, I've really wanted to create a closer parallel to my physical works and the digital works,
Yep.
just knowing of where I want to take it.
Yeah.
And so I held off on like a lot of digital files that have just been in my like on my computer, on my iPad of doing anything with those just yet. Cause
Yeah.
I want to either decide, I mean, I really want to decide like how I want to like have them play.
hmm
And I would like to have them have some type of interaction with something physical. And so it's just linking the two with technology. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people are doing that where they put like their NFTs up and then the buyer gets both the digital and the physical, or they do like the phygital where it's kind of like a merged blend of, a hybrid of how to present it to the collector. So I like that you're already, a step ahead thinking about that, which is super cool. This was a great talk because I loved just hearing your insight. I think some of the stuff you said was like such great takeaways and little gems that you dropped. So thanks.
Thanks for
Casey, aka Hero,
that. Yeah,
for just like talking with us. I'm gonna see you next Wednesday. The event is
absolutely.
next week. It's
I
crazy how
know it's
fast it's
moving
going.
fast.
It's moving fast. It's like almost end of summer already. The time is
Yeah,
just like flying. But it's great to hear that like, things are going good. Work is like, rolling and like thank you for being part of this collaboration and see you next week.
absolutely. Thank you so much for the talk. Thank you for having me. And I'm excited to see you next week.
Yay, thank you. Have a great day. Bye,
You
Casey.